Hey everyone, and welcome back to the knowledgeable video series. So continuing our journey with CloudWatch, today we'll be looking into the CloudWatch logs aspect. So let's understand it with a simple example. Generally, if you talk about a typical server, be it Linux or be it even Windows, each and every server has its own log files. So a server can contain a lot of log files which can range from system logs to even application logs if an application is running. So whenever you want to debug something, it is necessary that we have access to the log files. Now in the default behavior, since the log files are stored within the system, if anyone wants to debug a specific thing which is not working, that individual would need access to the server. So let's take an example. So you have an application running, a PHP application running in a Linux server. So due to some reason, the PHP application is not running properly as expected, and a developer wants to look into the log file. So what you'll have to do in the normal behavior is that you have to give him the SSH access to the developer, and then he will be able to go through the log files. So that is one which is not considered as a good security practice. So ideally, if you go into the organizations which deals with sensitive information, none of the developer have any access to the server by the default behavior. No developer will have access to the server. Now the question is, you might ask that if the developer do not have access to the server, how will he debug the log files? And the answer is to centralize the log solution. So what you would ideally like to do is, you would like to pull the log files from the server and put it into a central place where the developer can look into the log files. So let me give you one of the examples in order to understand it better. So I'll just log into the server, and if you go into the var log, you see there are a lot of log files. Now let's assume that you want to debug a log file called as var log messages. So one of the approaches to this is you manually log into the server. You go and do a tail in the messages file and look into the troubleshooting related aspect. However, the second and the most ideal use case is you push all of these log files to a central location where one can query into. So in my case, what I have done is, since we are speaking of the CloudWatch logs, I have pushed these files to a central solution. So if you look into the CloudWatch console, you see I have a log group name as var log messages. So if I go here, I have the instance ID, and now you see I have all the messages which are part of the var log messages log file. So similarly, you can even push all the application logs to a central log server. It can be CloudWatch, it can be RSS log, it can be Elasticsearch, etc. But the main importance is, if you push all the log files to a central log server, then you do not really need to give access to anyone inside the system. So this is what the concept related to the CloudWatch log group is all about. So what we'll be doing is we'll wrap up this lecture, and in the next lecture we'll go ahead and look into how we can push the log files from the EC2 instance to a CloudWatch log groups. So this is it about this lecture. I hope this has been informative, and I look forward to see you in the next lecture.